Spooky times abound in Kraino Origins. If you're looking for a game that feels like it should have been released on Halloween, yet is still great regardless, then Kraino Origins is it. Developed by GameAtomic, Kraino Origins is a 2D platformer heavily inspired by the original Castlevania games, before they became gigantic Metroidvanias and were simpler level-based affairs. What little story Kraino Origins gives you as an excuse to go ghoul-busting across the land is presented with simple yet atmospheric animated cutscenes. It seems a mad scientist has decided to bring you back to life in skeletal form. But wait, before you go on your revenge spree, there's a plot twist, right at the beginning. You see, you haven't been resurrected in the name of some unholy attempt to further science or take over the world with an undead horde. No, you have been resurrected for the noblest goal of all, justice. That's right, the madcap scientist has brought you back to save the land. Or has he? Well, how do you do that? By putting on your best top hat, grabbing a scythe, and reaping evil wherever it dares appear. And that's everywhere apparently, for Kraino Origins' world is hardly one for a great summer vacation. The premise and gameplay are stripped down simplicity, making for a game that feels like it would have fit right with the platforms of yore. However, that simplicity and mechanical design does not equate to a simple level of challenge. As our titular top hat wearing protagonist, you can jump, swing your scythe quickly enough to string together combos, attack below you, and spin it around in a circle for a devastating area of effect attack, albeit potentially dangerous to you as it locks you in place briefly. Your arsenal can be expanded upon by purchasing extra weapons, such as a ranged fireball from the game's sole merchant, assuming you can find him, that is. Kraino Origins levels are very straightforward. You go from A to B, defeating enemies and navigating platforming segments, before facing off against a fairly challenging boss. There's plenty of verticality despite the screen-by-screen design, and the level design never becomes staid. Each level typically throws in a new mechanic to master or new hazards to overcome, starting off simply, before increasing in complexity and placing enemies in more nefarious positions. Whether it's using bubbles to bounce across toxic gaps, or rotating platforms to work your way up towards the top of a stage, Kraino Origins slowly increases difficulty until, by the end of the stage, you're working your way across multi-screen platforming sequences, or dealing with enemies who are always placed in difficult but not unfair positions. With some patience, timing and skill, you can overcome any challenge. Between these longer stages, you can also tackle challenge levels based on the one you've just completed. These levels take the mechanics you've just mastered and hazards you've just overcome, and turn them into one long platforming and combat gauntlet that leads you to a weapon upgrade token, and these are, by far, Kraino Origins' most challenging and thrilling sequences. Levels themselves are full of secrets hidden behind breakable walls, with tokens that upgrade your health and magic meter, but by far the most important thing to find is that hidden merchant. He stocks one new weapon per level, and these sub-weapons, especially the default fireball, are lifesavers. The weapon upgrade tokens you earn from challenge levels can then be used to upgrade these weapons further, and they're well worth the price and the challenge of seeking them out. Kraino Origins' basic combat is thrilling, but hardly splashy. Enemies can be killed in just a few hits, and it's their placement in the level that makes them challenging. The bosses fit into the game's monster themes and are somewhat spongy in comparison. Beating them is all about learning to react to attacks, rather than learning attack patterns, as they commonly mix up their moves. As a consequence, recognizing the start of animations is exceedingly important to survival. As with many old-school platformers, Kraino Origins has checkpoints within a level, and usually before the start of a challenging sequence. But just know that if you quit out of a level without completing it, be prepared to play it from the start. Now visually, Kraino Origins is a beautiful, sprite-driven game. Enemy and character designs are wonderfully animated, and have their own take on traditional designs that abound in the genre. Flaming skulls, bats, werewolves, it's all par for the course, but the animations and subtlety in the designs make them stand out. Strangely, Kraino Origins doesn't have traditional sound effects, or else this was a bug that persisted through my entire playthrough. There's just a backing musical track, which can be quite catchy depending on the stage, overlaying everything. There are no meaty enemy death sighs or weapon swings and strikes to listen to, which is a rather bold or erroneous choice. And with that, there's not much more to say about Kraino Origins. It's a simple, classically inspired take on action platformers of yore that displays exactly how much the developers understand both what made those games classics, along with how to design them with maximum enjoyment and challenge in mind. Kraino Origins is challenging, make no mistake, but it's never unfair or cheaply designed. With some wonderful sprite work, colourful gothic visuals, and fun, challenging gameplay, it's the perfect action platformer for those missing the purity of the original Castlevania games, or those just looking for another solid entry in the genre. If you've got this far, please consider giving the video a like and maybe subscribing to our channel as it helps us grow.